So, you're an older man. Maybe you're in your 40s, 50s, or even 60s. You've seen the world, built a life, maybe even survived a few heartbreaks. And then along comes this young woman, vibrant, full of life, a little wild, a little mysterious, and for some reason she gives you attention. Not just polite small talk, but real attention. And suddenly, whether you admit it or not, you start feeling alive in a way you haven't in a while. It's flattering, it's exciting, and it's exactly where most men start making mistakes they don't even realize they're making. You see, there's something very specific that happens when an older man is drawn to a younger woman. He forgets that he's already complete. He forgets that all age doesn't equal power. The years, the battles, the lessons, those are his power. But in that rush of dopamine, he starts adjusting. He starts softening his edges, shrinking himself down, trying to fit into her world instead of standing solid in his own. And that's when the dynamic flips. She stops seeing a man and starts seeing a guy trying to impress, trying to be cool, trying to win her. And just like that, the attraction disappears. This video isn't about judgment. It's about clarity. It's about helping you keep your dignity, your masculinity, and your self-respect intact in the face of temptation, admiration, or even genuine connection. We're going to talk about what not to do when you're in the presence of a younger woman, and how a stoic man, a grounded man, a man in full possession of himself would approach this entire situation differently. These aren't just dating tips, they're life strategies. So, if you're tired of being confused, manipulated, or thrown off course by someone who hasn't even lived half your life yet, this is going to be a wake-up call you didn't know you needed. Stick around, because by the end of this, you're going to see exactly where men fall and how you can rise by doing less, not more. 1. Don't try to be her age. You're not her peer. One of the most common mistakes older men make when engaging with younger women is trying to shrink themselves down to her world, trying to talk like her, dress confidence versus desperation like her, or pretend they get her pop culture references. It usually starts from a good place, a desire to connect, to relate. But what actually happens is the complete opposite. You lose the very thing that made you interesting in the first place. The moment you try to act like her peer, she stops seeing you as the grounded, composed, experienced man and starts seeing you as someone trying too hard. And no matter how subtly you do it, she can feel it. Women, especially younger ones, have a sixth sense for authenticity. When an older man tries to be cool by mimicking her lifestyle, it feels off. Not because of the age gap, but because of the insecurity underneath. The reality is, your age is not your disadvantage. It's your edge. You've lived. You've failed. You've risen again. You carry something she doesn't even understand yet. Presence. A deep, unshakable presence that only comes from the time in the trenches of life. That's what draws her in. Not your ability to name some trending TikTok dance or quote her favourite Netflix show. But too often, older men feel they have to keep up. When in fact, the most attractive thing you can do is slow down. Be still. Be solid. Let her run her youthful energy around you while you stand firm in your centre. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine you're on a date and she mentions how obsessed she is with some 23-year-old influencer. You could pretend you know who that is, laugh along, maybe even pull out your phone and fake scroll like you follow them too. Or you could simply smile and say, I don't follow that stuff much. I'm more into conversations that don't disappear in 24 hours. That one, the trap of overcompensation sentence, that's strength. That's difference. That's mystery. And that's exactly what catches her off guard in the best way possible. not because you're trying to be her, but because you're reminding her you're not. That's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to be relatable, you become magnetic. 2. Don't become her emotional sponge. Another trap older men often fall into is becoming the emotional sponge for a younger woman, absorbing all her chaos, confusion, and childhood wounds in the name of being there for her. It starts innocently enough. She opens up about her past. Maybe her ex treated her badly. Maybe her parents were never around. Maybe she's working on herself. And because you're older and emotionally mature, you listen. You want to help. You feel like maybe, just maybe, she sees something in you she can't find in boys her age. But slowly you find yourself being her therapist, her emotional dumping ground, her midnight phone call. When life feels overwhelming and deep down you think this is building a connection. You think if I'm the one who understands her, she'll choose me. But the truth, that's not romantic bonding. It's emotional outsourcing. Women, especially younger ones, will often unconsciously gravitate toward older men for a sense of stability. But if you confuse emotional caretaking with attraction, you'll get stuck in the most frustrating position possible, the friend zone dressed up as intimacy. You'll hear about her bad decisions, her confusing dates, her mental health spirals, but none of it will lead to respect or desire. Why? Because a stoic man doesn't entangle himself in drama to feel needed. He provides calm by simply being calm. He listens without rescuing. He offers insight without investment. There's a difference between being emotionally available and emotionally absorbent. One is grounded, the other is needy, dressed up as nice. Imagine she calls you crying about her latest situationship. And instead of diving into fix-it mode, you just say, "That sounds like a lot. I hope you give yourself space to figure it out." That one line, it signals that you're present but not caught. She feels don't try to impress her, seen but not able to latch on and pull you into her emotional storm. That's stoicism in practice. It's not about being cold, it's about knowing the difference between offering presence and sacrificing your peace. A man who's mastered his emotions doesn't let someone else's turbulence pull him off course, no matter how pretty the storm looks. 3. Never chase her validation. There's a subtle but deadly mistake that older men make when dealing with younger women, and that's chasing validation. It doesn't always look desperate, and sometimes it hides behind compliments, over-explaining yourself, trying to prove you get her, or subtly seeking reassurance that she still likes you. But the energy underneath it is always the same. Do you approve of me? And the moment she senses that energy, the dynamic is ruined. Because no matter your age, status, or experience, if you're orbiting around her opinion of you, you've given her the power. You've made her the judge, the prize, the one with the leverage. And women, especially younger ones, are hypersensitive to this imbalance. It's instinctive. They're not always conscious of it, but they can feel when a man is subtly bending for their approval instead of standing rooted in his own worth. A stoic man does not beg for attention. He doesn't need to be constantly seen, acknowledged, or praised to feel centered. His sense of value is not up for debate. If she's interested, great. If not, also great. He moves forward either way. That level of emotional self-sufficiency is magnetic. Because while other men are dancing like court gestures, trying to get a smile or a heart emoji, he's simply he's unbothered. And that unbothered energy isn't cold, it's rare. And rarity is powerful. Let's say she leaves your message on read. A man chasing validation might double text, drop a meme, or say something passive-aggressive like, "Guess you're busy, LOL." But a grounded man, he doesn't even flinch. He's not playing games, but he's also not playing catch because he's not waiting to be chosen. He already chose himself. And that's what makes her respect yourself. First, stop, scroll back, and wonder why you're not reacting the way every other man does. When you stop chasing her reaction, you become the one worth reacting to. 4. Don't try to impress. Lead instead. There's a huge difference between impressing a woman and leading her and most men, especially older ones, trying to win over a younger woman, get caught in the trap of the first. They start listing off accomplishments like a resume. They drop casual mentions of the car they drive, the places they've travelled, the money they've made, or the connections they have. And while some of that might be impressive on paper, it rarely has the effect you think it will because women don't fall for your words. They fall for the way you move. Impressing comes from a place of lack. It says, look at me. Please approve of me. But leading says, here's where I'm going. You're welcome to join me if it aligns with you. One seeks approval. The other offers direction. The more you try to prove your value, the more you reveal that you don't fully believe in it. That's the paradox. A Stoic man leads by example, not exhibition. He doesn't need to broadcast his worth. It just shows up in the way he carries himself. She doesn't need a PowerPoint of your achievements. She needs to feel your certainty, your clarity, your grounded presence. That alone creates gravity. A younger woman, especially one still figuring out her own path, doesn't want to be dazzled. She wants to feel anchored. And only a man who trusts his own path can...
Give her that. Picture this. You're out to dinner with her. Instead of trying to impress her with stories of success or subtly name-dropping who you know, you order the meal with confidence, make eye contact with the waiter, and lead the conversation without rushing or showing off. You ask thoughtful questions, not to impress her, but because you're genuinely curious about how her mind works. That's leadership, that's presence, and that's what sticks in her memory. What young women actually respect when the night is over. Not how much you made last year, but how solid she felt in your energy. Impressing is about her. Leading is about you. And when you lead, she naturally follows, not because you asked her to, but because she wants to. 5. Don't project long-term fantasies early. One of the most dangerous things an older man can do when dealing with a younger woman is to project a future onto her before there's even a foundation. You go on a few dates, have some deep conversations. Maybe there's chemistry, maybe even intimacy. And suddenly in your mind, she's the one. You start imagining what life would be like if she moved in, how your friends would react, what kind of vacations you'd take together, how you'd guide her through life and help her grow. It happens fast, too fast, and it usually stems from a quiet loneliness, a desire for significance, or the hope that this woman will somehow complete you or give your life a new sense of meaning. But what you're really doing is building a fantasy out of thin air. You're not relating to her as she is, you're relating to the version of her you've created in your head. Stoicism teaches us to stay grounded in reality, not in wishful thinking or romantic illusions. When you project long-term fantasies onto a person who's barely stepped into your life, you stop seeing clearly. You overlook red flags, you ignore incompatibilities, you start investing emotional energy into a story, not a person. And here's the real danger. When she doesn't match that story, you don't just feel disappointed. Did you feel betrayed? But the betrayal wasn't hers. It was your own projection. A Stoic man learns to enjoy what's real, what's present, and what's proven, not what's imagined. Let's say you've been talking to her for 3 weeks and she's sweet, spontaneous, says all the right things. You catch yourself wondering what she'd be like as a mom or how she'd look walking beside you at family events. Stop. Pull back. Remind yourself that all you know is the highlight reel. Stay curious, not committed, because it's easy to fall in love with potential. But real connection takes time, consistency, and clarity. A man rooted in himself doesn't rush to write the ending before he's even read the first few chapters. He stays present, detached, and observant because that's how you see people for who they, the energy of Stoic masculinity, are, not who you hope they'll become. 6. Don't be her backup plan or emotional filler. One of the most painful positions an older man can find himself in with a younger woman is becoming her backup plan. The safe, stable option she keeps in her back pocket while she chases emotional highs elsewhere. At first, it might not be obvious. She texts you when she's bored, calls when her situationship crashes, or makes you feel like you're her safe space. And because you're older, more patient, more understanding, you lean into that role thinking maybe she's just not ready now, but she'll come around. But that mindset is a slow poison, because what's really happening is you're being used as a placeholder. You're her emotional filler, someone who gives her the validation and support she's not getting from the men she actually wants to pursue. And the moment they come back around, you're pushed to the side again. A Stoic man doesn't accept half interest. He doesn't cling to someone who only reaches for him when it's convenient. He recognizes when the dynamic is lopsided and calmly exits. There's no drama, no emotional breakdown, just a quiet, powerful decision that says, if I'm not your priority, I'm not your option. And that decision, walking away from being the backup, is what restores your power. Because the moment you agree to be the support system for someone who has no intention of building something real with you, you surrender your self-respect. You start shrinking yourself down just to stay in her orbit, even though the center of her attention is always elsewhere. Think of this example. She cancels plans with you, but still wants to FaceTime late at night just to talk. Or she vents about other guys, then says things like, I don't know why I always feel better after talking to you. That's not affection, it's utility. You're not the one she's excited about. You're the one who makes her feel emotionally fed when everything else is falling apart. And as flattering as that might feel in the moment, it's a dead end. A Stoic man doesn't orbit around someone else's chaos. He builds a life that's full enough, rich enough, and solid enough that he doesn't need to be chosen. He simply chooses what aligns with his peace. Anything less, he walks away quietly, fully, and never looks back. 7. Never lose your mission for her. There is nothing more self-destructive for a man, especially an older one, than losing sight of his mission for the attention or affection of a woman. And when that woman is younger, vibrant, unpredictable, and full of emotional intensity, it becomes dangerously easy to drift off course. Final advice that changes the game. You start skipping the gym because she wants to stay in bed. You delay a meeting because she had a rough morning and just needs you. You stop writing, building, leading, all in the name of being available. And little by little, without even realizing it, your life starts orbiting hers. Your goals take a back seat, your structure softens, your edge dulls, and the very thing that once made you attractive, your direction, your purpose disappears. A Stoic man understands that his mission is not negotiable. It's not something he sets aside to make it work. It's the foundation of his life. Without it, he becomes unanchored, vulnerable to the mood swings of whoever holds his attention that week. Women are drawn to men who are going somewhere, who are building something with or without them. And when you abandon that path to chase emotional connection, you don't gain love. You lose respect, especially from her. Because even if she doesn't say it out loud, she feels it when a man starts placing her above his path. She stops seeing you as a leader and starts seeing you as another man who's willing to be led. Think of the difference between a man who says, I can't talk right now. Outro and reflection. I'm deep in a project, versus the one who instantly picks up every call, cancels plans, and rearranges everything to be present. The first man is living on purpose, the second is living on approval, and she can feel the difference. The truth is, if a woman genuinely cares about you, she'll want you to stay loyal to your mission. She'll admire your discipline even when it means less time with her. But if you give that up for her, you don't become more desirable. You become another man who lost himself trying to earn something that can only be given freely. A Stoic man remains unmoved by temporary emotion when it risks permanent regret. He walks his path no matter who walks beside him. Conclusion. So here's the truth, and I want you to sit with it for a moment. Being an older man in the presence of a younger woman isn't a disadvantage, it's a responsibility.